All right, so intercepts are the points where your graph intersects either the x or the y axis. So x-intercepts occurs where y equals 0. So if you're like labeling points in the x-axis, it might be like 2, 0, negative 5, 0. So that's why your y is 0. And then the y-intercept occurs when x equals 0. That's usually right at points like 0, 5, 0, negative 7. So your x's are 0. So when we're looking at the graph here, so this right here would be called your y-intercept, and then where it hits over here is going to be called your x-intercept. So we will label the y-intercept as the point 0, 2, the x-intercept as the point 4, 0. This one it might be hard. So your x-intercepts will be here, 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 and here. So all of those dots. And then the y-intercept is going to be this dot up here. So those would be negative 1, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, and 3, 0. And then the y-intercept up here looks like it's probably about 0, 5.5 or so. Here, my x-intercept is there and there. So that's negative 4 and at 2. And the y-intercept hits right here, so that's at the point 0, negative 2. Down here, it never hits the x-axis, so we say there's none there. It hits the y up here, so that's the point 0, 5. So there's my x's, there's my y again. So really you just have to identify it and then just label your points for these. This one right here should never hit the x-axis and it never hits the y-axis. This is just a rational function, probably like 1 over x in standard form. So let's look on the back. All right, so now we're going to be finding x and y intercepts. We're going to be finding them algebraically. So if we're going to find the x-intercept, that's also called the zeros of your function. So we're going to set the equation. So it says set f of x equal to 0. So that means make your y value 0. And we should be solving that function for x. Y is f of 0. That means that you plug 0, and then we're going to be solving for y for these. So here, to find my x-intercept, I'm going to make this 0, and then I just need to solve it to find it. So I'm going to subtract my 3, and then we're going to divide by negative 1. So if you remember how to solve absolute values, we're going to solve x minus 5 equals, that's plus now, 3, and x minus 5 equals negative 3. So we get x is 8 and 2. So I write that point as 8, 0. Oh, it's down here. So it'd be 8, 0, and it would be 2, 0, or the intercepts. You could say that x equals 2 and 8, depending on how they ask it. Sometimes you might write that in set notation as 2 and 8. I think that's how Cooper's class is going to be writing them in that formation. Now to find the y, I'm just going to plug in zeros into these cases. So you just plug a 0 in right here. So now we just have the absolute value of negative 5 is 5, and then a negative on the outside. So now it becomes negative 5. Then you have negative 5 plus 3. So my y-intercept is negative 2. So the y-intercept would be 0, negative 2. So down here, to find your x, we set this equal to 0. So now we're going to have to factor or do the quadratic formula to this. I prefer factoring. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply that negative 8 to get negative 7. Factor by grouping. Pull up my x. Pull up my 2, I mean. I'll pull it a 2x. I don't even know what I'm doing right now, sorry. Pull up my 1. So I factor into 2x plus 1, x minus 4. So remember you set this equal to 0. Subtract your 1, divide your 2. Subtract over your, or add over your 4. So your zeros are negative 1/2 and 4. So you can write them either as points. And that's what I'm going to do. Or you can write it in the set notation. Y is when I set all of these equal to 0. So I'm going to put a 0 here. I put a 0 here. So 0 minus 4. That would give me negative 4. So then my intercept is 0, negative 4. Down here, next one is also a factoring question. If I make this equal to 0 right here. So that would be x squared minus 4, x squared minus 1. You could factor it more, but since we're going to solve, you can just go ahead and set these equal to 0 and solve. Remember, this does factor into x plus 2, x minus 2, x plus 1, x minus 1. And when you solve these, you would also get all these. So we're getting plus or minus 2 and plus or minus 1 are all my zeros. So 2, 0, negative 2, 0, 1, 0, negative 1, 0. Now for y, remember I make these 0 up here. So 0 minus 0 plus 4 gives me 4. All right. Down here, I need a factor, so I'm going to pull out an x first, because remember I'm setting this equal to 0. That's how you find your x-intercept. Factor now. So then x equals 0, 7, negative 1. So then I'm just going to write my point as 0, 0, as 7, 0, and negative 1, 0. If a x-intercept is at 0, your y-intercept has to be at 0 too. But just to check it, you plug in zeros for all your x's. So you can say like 0 cubed minus 6 times 0 squared minus 7 times 0. That is 0. See down here, I'm going to pull out my x first again because this is equal to 0. So 3x squared. Now you do your AC, factors of negative 30 to get 13 would be 15 and negative 2. Group that. Pull out my negative 2. So it factors into 3x minus 2 and x plus 5. Set them equal to 0 and I get 0. This one gives me 2/3. That one gives me negative 5. Again, if 0, 0 is 1 here, it has to be 1 down here. You can always check though by plugging in 0 for all your x's. 0 cubed times 3 plus 13 times 0 squared minus 10 times 0 is 0. So setting this one equal to 0 might have to bring you back to your noggins. You add your 2 over to this one. And now to get rid of the square root, you would have to square both sides on this one. And then subtract over my 1. So x equals 3 is this 0. I plug in 0 into that equation. Square root of 1 is 1. 1 minus 2 gives me negative 1. So that's my other intercept right there. Hopefully you guys were able to see that all.